Boom, and we are live on and Ramblin Gamblin YouTube channel. I'm James Evans, and today we've got quite the guests on today. We've got a fair few more than what we usually expected. Unfortunately, Garrett is still away, so you're going to have to put up with my voices for the evening. Again, yeah, I'm joined by a wide range of guests. It's good to have you on, folks. How are you guys doing?
Doing well, man.
Excited for the fight.
So for the fights, yeah, obviously we've got a big weekend coming up. The main event clash between Israel Adesanya and Paulo Costa. Obviously, as you boys know, both undefeated. Somebody's there has got to go. And for those watching at home, across YouTube and what have you, you know the drill. We go from bottom to top, and let's start things off with our first fight of the night between Khalis Ibrahimov and Danilo Martinez. Zach, what have you got for that one, mate?
I'm kind of leaning towards the underdog on this one a little bit. Danilo Martinez, a little bit bigger, a little rangier. Khalis coming off of a KO loss back a few months ago. I kind of like the new guy. He's a little bit older too. Those higher weight classes, you see those guys a little bit older, 34 years old, in those bigger weight classes, a little more experience. I don't know. He doesn't have much of a reach. He doesn't have a reach advantage, but just a bigger body in there. And that's, I think that could be a big difference maker.
He does. I know that Khalis is 0-3 in the UFC, but I think the fact that there is a record in the UFC at all is going to be a little bit telling in this. When I was watching some of Marquez's previous fights, he looks nervous to get hit, and he's got one fight in particular. Mario Teles put him to sleep on the mat in 2016. So if I was him, I might look a little nervous to get hit on the feet as well. Unfortunately, I imagine what we're going to be seeing from Khalis is him going for a straight knockout. He doesn't really have any regard for his own defense. He jumps, he leaps onto his takedown attempts and onto his ground and pound. So I think he's gonna catch him. I'm taking Khalis in the first round with something crazy, whether he jumps on him and lands a fist on him or whether he hits him with a big overhand right. I think he's going to catch him with something crazy early on.
Yeah, for this fight, I don't feel too comfortable with either of these guys betting-wise, but if I had to pick, I'm going to go with the underdog, Danilo. He's got 4 sub wins, 4 KO wins, so he's kind of versatile in that regard. He's a taller fighter. Like you guys said, Khalis has lost his last 3 fights in the UFC. He likes to throw a lot of those looping overhand rights, and what I can watch from the tape, he likes to spam his right hand over and over and over. You playing a video game, you're just spamming the same punch. That's kind of what he does. Both these guys kind of have rudimentary striking, in my opinion. Danilo, he kind of looks a little bit wonky, a little bit. I don't know. He's just like, I don't know. It's just kind of weird to me. Like I said, I don't feel comfortable taking Khalis as a favorite in this regard, so I'm gonna have to go with the underdog. Probably via submission. He wants to fight on the ground, in my opinion. But yeah, don't feel super comfortable with this fight, but I'm gonna take Danilo.
Well, we have a rule on our podcast that we never bet against the Russian fighter, so I'm going to go with the favorite. I'm going to go with the favorite on this one and go with Khalis, even though he's coming off of 3 losses. And strangely enough, the odds have this at going under 2.5 rounds on this one. So they don't see this one going as a decision either.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to go with Khalis.
Okay.
What about you, Nathan?
I mean, looking at this, I do think that this could be very much make or break for Khalis. He's 3 straight losses. I think he loses, he most likely will probably get released. I think because of that, he will probably be coming out all guns blazing. So I think I'm probably going to be leaning towards Danilo, and I'll go first round submission. I think he'll catch him with a takedown. Perhaps he might be a little bit reckless. So, yeah, I'm going to go with a first-round submission.
Yeah, that's all good. Obviously, with Khalis, doesn't bode well with me from a betting perspective. Obviously, from what some of you guys are saying, he's not been on the best of runs recently. But, again, unfortunately, I've got to go for the favourite of this one. I'm going to be very optimistic in my approach to this. I'm going to go for Khalis for a first-round TKO. Cue that we've all, the majority of us have gone for a finish, but watch this be an absolute 15-minute ball fest to kick off UFC 253. I've changed it now, boys. So moving on to the next one, I believe it's Juan Espino versus Jeff Hughes. That's what I've got. So again, Zach, take it away, mate.
I really like Juan Espinosa. We haven't seen him since The Ultimate Fighter, obviously, but he showed pretty much in every fight in The Ultimate Fighter that he has an elite skill set in his grappling. And basically, once he gets it there, he dominates. And I haven't even actually looked at the odds on this one yet. I don't care. I'll take that elite skill set grappling. I'll take that every time. I think Jeff Hughes is tough, but I've been looking forward to Juan's UFC debut since The Ultimate Fighter for a long time now.
So the odds have him just about 300 under favorite. So have pretty heavy favorite there, especially for an early prelim. And I agree with the odds, and I agree with you. I think in the UFC, sometimes in kind of the lower levels, and especially in other promotions, we'll see guys fighting at heavyweight that maybe don't need to be fighting at heavyweight. They're fighting at heavyweight because they don't want to get down to light heavyweight. I think Jeff Hughes might be one of those situations. If you're going to be 255 pounds and have half of your wins be by decision, I'm not sure what your game plan is when you're going into the fights, or if you just don't really hit hard enough. And from watching him fight, I think he's got decent ground and pound, he's got decent striking, but he doesn't hit hard enough to be that big. I mean, when you think about 255 pounds, we're thinking about Francis Ngannou. Stipe comes in lower than that. I mean, I know these are freaks of nature, but like if you're going to be that big, I think you got to be able to hit pretty hard. And you know what? Espino does, and he's a great wrestler. He's a physical specimen. He's shaped like Alistair Overeem. I think he's going to come in there and he's going to bully Jeff Hughes. I do think that it's going to be a second round submission because I think Jeff Hughes will hang on for a second. He'll gas himself out. He'll swing all his shots. Jeff Espino will be fine. And then he'll come in the second round and they'll put him in the submission. So round 2 sub for me on Espino.
I like it, Burner. Juan Espino, 9-1. He's got 6 subs. You know, he's a specialist on the ground. Got some decent top control. He'll ground and pound to set up the submission. He'll shoot for the double legs. Jeff Hughes, you know, they got a mutual opponent in Mo Green. I think both of these dudes beat him, but he's a slow starter. He's got a big right hook. You know, not the greatest takedown defense. It's all right. But against Juan Espino, I don't see Juan having too much of a problem getting him to the ground eventually, whether that's in the first or second, like Burner said. I see him latching on a submission at some point, either the first or second round. So I'm definitely taking the favorite in this aspect. I got Juan Espino via submission.
I'm just going to echo what everybody else said. I think Espino, his ground game, he's the bigger fighter. Yeah, I'm going to and echo a lot of what Burner was saying on Jeff Hughes. You know, he's not. I mean, he's a heavyweight. He's 250 plus pounds, but he's only 6'2", so he's not big. He's not overly big. He's not like a Francis Ngannou. So I'm going to go with the little more the elder Espino.
Right.
By submission.
Okay.
I like that by submission.
Mm.
I don't know how much more I can really add. I'm pretty much in agreement with everyone else in Espino's grappling game being so strong, and especially when you consider, you look at the upper end of this heavyweight division, and it is the majority of strikers. I think he'll be very motivated to make it to the top of the division, being 39 years old. So I think this could potentially be the start of a run to the top 15 at least. So I'm going with him with a first round submission.
Yeah, and honestly, lads, I don't think there's a lot to say left with this one. Obviously, I think Burner, I think a lot of you have gone for a submission win for Espino. I'm totally in agreement with Nathan. I'm going for the first round. I think he just gets it to the floor very early on, and then I could be lights out for his opponent. So I'm going for an Espino by a first round submission, which leads us on to William Knight versus Alexa Kamer. Again, Zach, take it away, mate.
Man, this one's a little bit hard for me. So Jason and I have a bit of a personal connection with Alexis Kamer's last opponent, Justin Ledet. I actually trained with him a little bit earlier this week. Justin, they had a good fight, and Alexis won a decision. I actually think, from what I've seen, both Contender Series guys, I think William Knight's just a little bit too physical for Alexa in this fight. He's a powerhouse. Pretty much finishes everybody by knockout, ground and pound. He's violent. He's vicious, and I think I think there's a good chance you're going to see a second round knockout from William Knight in this fight.
So I like William Knight. I liked watching him when I was doing my research when he was fighting on the Contender Series back a few weeks back there. I liked him fighting on the Contender Series. I was excited to watch that fight, and it was a good one for me. I think that he's got a little bit of a stylistic matchup problem here, though, because Kimura's going to come in, and he's a very violent, powerful striker, but he's accurate. It seems like he really tends to pick his opponents apart, whereas Knight is that huge, big physical specimen that's got big, powerful hands, but it seems like for him to get his knockout wins, he kind of has to overpower his opponent, and I don't know if he's going to be able to do that here. He's got to swing a few, hit him a couple times, and one of them's going to catch him on the face and knock him out. I think it's honestly an interestingly similar matchup at a lower level to our main event on this card, where we've got Israel Adesanya against Paulo Costa. I'm going to take our favorite here in Kimura to win. I'm going to take him via second round knockout.
Hey, I like it, Brody. I'm with you again. I also like Alexa in this matchup. I think it's a styles make fights type of matchups. Both these guys are strikers, but William Knight definitely has the power advantage. Not to say that Alexa doesn't throw power in his strikes too, but he's definitely the more technical striker in my opinion. And William Knight, I just feel like watching tape on him, he's always losing just right until he wins. You know what I'm saying? Even in this Contender Series fight, he was kind of getting beat up and dominated until he hit that dude with the elbows. He was trying to go in for the clinch. He was trying to get the takedown. Kind of seen that happen a lot recently. But as long as Alexa can avoid as long as Alexa can avoid the power of William Knight, I just think he's a technical striker, and he'll be able to outpace him. He'll be able to out-cardio him in the later rounds. I see Alexa winning a TKO either in the second or third round, so that's what I'm going to go with.
Yeah, I'm going to keep on the Alexa train. I was not that impressed with William Knight on the Contender Series. I'm just going to echo what was just said. I think he was getting beat. He's definitely got the power. So he obviously one punch and he could turn the lights out.
For sure.
But I think Alexis gets it done. I think he's going to be the quicker. He's going to be the faster fighter. I see William Knight possibly gassing out a little bit. I don't even know how big of a favorite is he? It's actually not that far off. But I actually see at least going into the second round. So I do like the over the 1.5, but I see Alexa winning that fight.
This one I was kind of struggling with a bit. I mean, they're both. I do think William Knight has the knockout power advantage, but Hakeem has looked very impressive recently, and I mean the win over Justin Ledet was really impressive. However, I think I'm going to have to go with the power advantage for Knight. So I'll probably go with him I'll go with round 3 knockout. Could very easily be wrong though. This one was really tough to pick, I found.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this one. Obviously, early on, I was talking to some bloke and I said, I'm going for a Hakeem via first round TKO. Maybe that's a bit optimistic. I've had a couple hours to think and get back to the drawing board in terms of my prediction. I think I'm very much looking forward to this one in terms of stylistically, like you said, fractured styles make fights. I know they're both dominantly strikers. So it's going to be an interesting spectacle to say the least. So I did say first round TKO, but I'm going to change my mind for a Hakeem via second round TKO, which moves us on to our next bout between Shane Young versus Jake Matthews, is it? I think that's what I've got.
No, Shane Young is...
Sorry, not Shane Young versus Jake Matthews. What am I talking about? Shane Young versus Ludovic Klein. Yeah, sorry. The ESPN cards are literally mixed up completely. So yeah, what have you boys got for that one? That was
the Tapology card is a really good one to have pulled up.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to pull up I'm going to pull up Tapology now because ESPN, they've got.
Yeah, so I like Sugar Shane Young in this fight. Again, I'm not going off. I haven't looked too much on the odds on it, but I like the guy that's had the UFC experience. He's been in the cage. Went to a unanimous decision loss with the current champ, Alexander Volkanovski. He's been in there. He's been in some wars, and and that's his only loss in his last 8 fights is to the champ. And when that was his UFC debut, now he gets to introduce a young up and comer, I believe 16-2. It's making his UFC debut, and I expect a really high paced, really exciting featherweight fight there, but I would take Shane Young by decision. I just think his experience gets it done.
So I don't think for the foreseeable future, at least the next 6 to 12 months, that I'm planning on ever betting against anybody that trains at City Kickboxing. I'm just going to pick them across the board. And this one's making it real easy for me. You know what? Klein, I like what he's doing. He's explosive. He's got a couple submission wins under his belt. He's got some big stoppage wins. But I really think that you have to look – this matchup almost seems like a little bit of a mismatch to me for the matchmakers to have made, because we've got Shane Young, who his only loss out of his 3 UFC fights is to the current champion in the division that he's fighting in. And then we've got Klein, who's the number 2 ranked featherweight in Eastern Europe. So that's just such a big competition difference that I can't imagine how the matchmakers sat there and watched those fights and then tried to figure out how it was going to match up against someone that's training with multiple world champions. It's just an interesting mismatch. I would have liked to see Klein get another fight, get a debut fight in the UFC before he fought a guy that's kind of at this high of a level. I would have liked to see him get one UFC fight under his belt before this. I think Shane Young's going to pick him apart and destroy him. I don't think this is even going to be close.
Wow, Burner. So for the first time, man, I couldn't disagree with you more. I like Shane Young. I think he's a great fighter. City Kickboxing, like you said, I think he has a bright future out here. But, man, when I was watching tape on Ludovic Klein, I was really, really impressed. The dude's 25 years old, 16-2, 7 TKO wins, 8 sub wins. I mean, he's versatile. If you got that many TKOs and that many subs, I mean, you could pretty much do it all. I do agree with you that Shane Young has definitely faced a better competition. I mean, as Zach said, he fought Alexander Volkanovski, took him to a decision. That was on 8 days' notice, too. So, you got to give him props. The dude he's a tough dude for sure, but he's one of those guys. He doesn't have the most technical striking, but he'll give one to take one. And against Ludovic Klein, you don't really want to do that. This dude is an athlete. He's got power. Everything coming from the left side is deadly. He throws amazing high kicks, nice body kicks, nice leg kicks, decent takedown defense against non-wrestlers at least. This is going to be a striking match, and I do give the advantage to Ludovic Klein. I just think he's the superior athlete. He's got the better power. I made a lot of bets on Ludovic Klein. I got him in many parlays. I got him straight up. He was the underdog. Initially, the line has kind of changed. People are kind of seeing what I'm seeing, in my opinion. And now I think it's like a pick'em fight now. But I'm going to go Ludovic Klein. I'm really excited about this fight. This fight and a couple of other low-key bangers on the card, I'm super pumped for. And this is the first one that I'm really excited for. But I'm going to take Ludovic Klein via TKO. I think he's going to get the first TKO victory against Shane Young. And I'm going to go in the second or third round.
Man, this is a tough one. I initially, when I looked at this one, I was all over Shane Young. But as you just echoed on here, Klein's a stud, man. And the line's, it's pretty much dead even on the line. I mean, it's pretty much a pick 'em fight, which is telling me a lot about Klein, because with Shane Young's experience, with him having already been in the UFC, having fought the current champ, granted it was 3 years ago, he still goes to a decision with Volkanovski. I mean, I was leaning super heavy on Shane Young, but I'm thinking I like Klein on this one, man. I think people are overlooking him. I'm gonna jump on the Klein train. So what do we got? Two for Young and 2 for Klein so far?
Yes, sir.
Take it away, Nathan.
This is a hard one. This is a real difficult one. Klein is a proven finisher, whether that be by submission or KO, but as he's more recently really proven his knockout power, so I'm fully expecting a stand-up battle. I think he has a bit more momentum into this one than Shane Young, bearing in mind he's unbeaten in 3 years. Yeah, you've got the context of Shane Young only losing to the current champion, but I do still think that applies. Young was originally scheduled to take on Nate Landwehr until about a week ago, which kind of tips it in his favor for me. So Klein has a massive disadvantage in terms of preparation time. Shane Young's never been stopped, and I do think that's what Klein excels at in stopping guys. So finishing him could be very hard work. That combined with the late notice may cause some gas tank issues potentially, which means I'll go with the Young decision.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I think, well, in terms of betting on people who come in on short notice, I'm one of those who I tend to back the guys who have had the full camp, who have had the full training. and it's always tough to back the guy who's coming in on 7 days notice, a week's notice, or just under 2 weeks notice. But I don't know. I think in this one, you've seen fighters step up on short notice or making their UFC debuts and just exploding on and bursting onto the scene. I think one that comes into my head recently is obviously you got Chimaev and then Yuri Prochazka against Volkan Oezdemir, which was a sensational performance, probably one of the highlights on Fight Island. But again, Klein on short notice, I don't know. I'm probably going to back him on this one. I totally agree with Bajid. I mean, from what I've seen recently, and when you do your research, he's got a wide range of ability. He can do it all, but his striking has probably come up clutch recently in terms of the left-hand side, as you said, Bajid. And again, this guy can do it all. And going toe-to-toe with a guy like Shane Long, as you boys mentioned, he faced a champ, went the whole distance with Volkanovski, so it's never easy to do, even though Volkanovski was working his way up himself to go the distance. You know, fair play to him. You take your hat off for Shane Long, but in terms of the stand-up game, I'm probably going to lean towards Klein on this one, and this is very optimistic, but what a way to make your debut and a second-round TKO against Shane Long to burst onto the UFC scene. So I'm going for a Klein by a second-round TKO, which leads us on now. Jake Matthews versus Diego Sanchez. A weird one on paper. I'll let you boys take it away. Zach, what have you got?
I mean, it's not really who do I have. It's just
how it happened.
I mean, I feel for it. Diego's like one of the guys that got me interested in the UFC. Watching him in The Ultimate Fighter, he's a fan favorite. Everybody loves him, but he's kind of. I mean, we got to talk about some, getting him some help with some potential brain damage here. He's calling out Conor McGregor after he says, I want to fight. He goes, I want to fight Nick Diaz, Nate Diaz, Conor McGregor after this to finish out I mean, man, it's gonna be a tough night for him. Jake Matthews wins by however he wants. I love Diego. I would love to see him be able to pull off an upset. I just don't see it happening. I just think Jake Matthews is too well-rounded, too young, too whatever. What, second round? Maybe give Diego a round. I don't know. Maybe second round finish. I feel bad. I hate picking against Diego, but
yeah. So I'm gonna take, since we all I think know how this fight's gonna go, I'm gonna take this moment to just show a little appreciation to Diego Sanchez. My guy has been a professional MMA fighter since 2002. He has over 30 fights in the UFC. He's got 10 professional stoppage wins, 6 professional submission wins, and 13 wins coming by way of decision. We appreciate him very much for what he's done for the sport. But unfortunately, if you're in the UFC, it doesn't really work like it does in the NBA. You can't ride out a contract in the NBA on a championship contender and shoot threes a couple of times a game. If you're in the NFL, even, you probably shouldn't be old and continue playing. If you're in the NHL, maybe you can play a little bit of an enforcer role. But if you're going on record right before your fight saying, hey, this is my last contract, I just want to ride it out. I'm looking to have a good time. I'm excited to be past the violence and past the fight game and start doing this other stuff. And then at the same time, you're calling out guys that you're not going to fight. I think I honestly don't. I just don't want him to get really hurt and not even be able to ride out the rest of his contract. And my prediction is that he gets knocked out in the first round and actually doesn't, after this fight, get to ride out the rest of his contract. I mean, if he gets badly beaten and hurt, then I don't think Dana's going to let him fight. I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, he's a good fighter, but I think there's definitely a chance that he gets takes a while to get recovered from this fight.
I mean, sorry, everybody remember the Matt Brown knockout and how horrible that looked? That's what I'm worried is going to happen again.
Yeah. If I was him, I don't think I would have taken this fight, but I know that's not how those guys at the top think.
For sure. One thing that I found interesting about this fight, or about Diego Sanchez in particular, was that he's never lost via submission in all of his fights. So I thought that was pretty crazy. And Jake Matthews has 7 wins by submission. So, that's just something to take into account, from a betting perspective, because, I mean, obviously, you're probably not going to – Jake Matthews is unparlayable. You're not going to play him. I don't even know what the odds are now, but it's ridiculous.
I found it at 700.
Is that 700? Yeah. Okay, yeah, see, I'm good, y'all. You guys can have fun with that one. But maybe, I might sprinkle a sub victory for Jake Matthews on there. Maybe he just, hurts him on the feet, and then he just starts, turtling up or something, just covering up like that. I don't know. Jake Matthews, I'll take him via submission, the first ever sub loss against, sub win against Diego Sanchez. Go ahead, Damage.
Man, what can you say? I mean, look, props to Diego Sanchez. Like you said, he's been fighting since 2002. The guy was on the season 1 of The Ultimate Fighter. I mean, he's beaten the ranks of Kenny Florian, Nick Diaz. I mean, the guy's been in there with everybody. Unfortunately, I think he's come to the end of the line, and it's probably not going to end very well for him. About the only, I think Jake Matthews wins fairly easily. I don't know if he submits him. I see this going to the judges, and Jake Matthews, dominant decision. That's Jake Matthews by decision.
I was gutted to see on Embedded Sanchez is being cornered by his guru once again. I think that was the nail in the coffin, really, if there wasn't one already. The DQ win over Pereira was kind of humiliating for Sanchez, and I don't know how many more weight division changes he can do at this point in his career. I do think we're reaching the end, as horrible as it is, and it gets to the point where I'm more concerned about his health at this point. Matthews is on a 2-fight win streak, which is enough to justify me picking him to win by decision. I'm not quite sold on his finishing abilities at the moment, especially bearing in mind he hasn't been submitted apparently. So I'll go with Jake Matthews for this one. Quite an easy pick.
Yeah, I mean, this is all self-explanatory, really. It's just a case of how Jake gets it done. With no disrespect to Diego, I mean, obviously he's been around the game for such a long time, but however Jake wants to get it done, get it done. I see it going to the judges, but hopefully we won't need that sort of controversial, judges' scorecards. I think we will see a convincing win for Jake Matthews via decision. Maybe he could get a late round submission in the 3rd round, obviously if Diego starts to tie. But again, I'm going for a Jake Smith via a decision, which leads to Brad Riddell versus Alex de Silva. Again, Zach, take it away, mate.
Well, this is an interesting fight here because you have Brad Riddell as a pretty big favorite, obviously. His last win was a split decision in the UFC, another unanimous decision in the UFC. It was on the Izzy Whitaker card. He hasn't blown me away really in the UFC. And Alex de Silva has a lot more experience, but he's the big underdog. This is Alex de Silva has more experience. He's younger. He lost via guillotine in the UFC, but he's also won via doctor stoppage and a guillotine himself recently. I don't know. It's hard. This is a hard one for me, but I kind of like the underdog Alex in this one to maybe pull an upset. I mean, obviously Riddell's tough and could give him all he can handle and should win the fight. But I think Alex de Silva, actually, this might be one where I might go with the underdog.
So when I said I'm not going against City Kickboxing on this card, I meant it. That'll give you a preview of who I'm going to be talking about for our main event. I'll start with Silva, though. What I don't like when I'm watching tape on Silva, I like what I see objectively. I like seeing a dude hit his opponent hard and follow it up instantly with big ground and pound. But what I didn't really see was him pulling it off against anybody that seemed to every time. I mean, I saw this a bunch of times where he would pull that off and he'd win the fight like that. But every single dude didn't do anything didn't have any idea what they were supposed to do after they got hit real hard and went down to the ground. The ground and pound was open. He beat him up on the ground, and that was kind of the end of it. And so, you got to admire the accurate violence that he puts out, but I didn't see too much defense being put up against it ever. So I don't know how he's going to do against somebody that has experienced some heavy ground and pound before. Riddell, I like a lot. I mean, City Kickboxing, he's got over 75 professional kickboxing matches. This man's a striker. He's a technical striker. He's accurate. He's fast. He's athletic. He's in great shape. He could go 3 rounds. He could go 5 rounds, I'll bet you. No problem. I mean, those guys are in great shape down there. I think Riddell gets it done pretty easily on the feet. Honestly, I just don't see Silva coming in and hitting him with some huge shot that he hasn't seen before, didn't see coming. I don't see Silva getting him on the ground and being able to just openly beat his face up. I don't really see a way for Silva to win this fight. And I saw Riddell at an over 300 favorite or under more than 300 favorite. So I don't think I'd bet on this fight in any way either.
You're muted, brother.
Oh, I think you're muted, Fractured.
My fault. Yeah, I'm with you, Werner. I like Brad Riddell. I don't know how you say it. I think the attributes are pretty similar. Same height, same age, I believe. I don't know. But how Zach said that Alex has the experience advantage, I do think he does obviously have more MMA fights, but I don't know, the level of competition might not be up to par, like Werner was saying. He's got 13 TKO wins, 7 sub wins. But overall, I just think Brad has the advantage striking. Like I really liked his stand-up work that he was doing. He'll rip the body. He's got slick footwork. He likes to keep distance and range, keep it at his range. He's good at stuffing takedowns. So I like Alex De Silva too. I think he's a good fighter in his own right. But up against Brad, I'm definitely going to go Brad. Probably via TKO. I just think his striking is a little bit too polished, a little bit too powerful. And before that line was minus 300, I think I got him, or I parlayed him at like minus 270 or something like that. So yeah, I'm taking Brad in this one. But like I said, I like Alex. I think he's a good fighter in his own right.
Yeah, I'm going to echo with the last two guys. I'm going to go with Brad Riddell on this one too. Initially looking at it, you're looking at these guys' records. Alex De Silva's, he's 21-2. Brad Riddell's 8-1. So you would think the experience more on Alex's side, but like I said, I'm going to echo what you just touched on. I don't think he's fought that level of competition. So maybe that 21's a little bit padded. I'd probably lay off this fight, but if I'm going to pick a winner, I think Brad's going to be too much for him. Can't stand up will be too much for him. So I'll take Brad.
I think this is the sleeper of the card. I think this could be very, very entertaining. Two guys with very good stand-up. But again, echoing what Bernard said earlier, Riddell's been so impressive with the technical striking. His fights against, in particular, the Malarkey one was fantastic. He's been very enjoyable to watch. I think this could really go either way. But I think I'm leaning towards Riddell on this one. I wouldn't put money on it, though. I'll go with a decision.
Yeah, totally agree. Obviously, you look at De Silva on paper. It's just crazy at such a young age to have that many professional bouts under your belt. But again, as all of you boys have said, whether they've been against the top level guys, I doubt it indeed. You look at Riddell, obviously, again, as you boys have been saying, he's just well polished in terms of his striking approach. I like this matchup on paper. Again, I'm probably going to have to back the majority on this one and go for Riddell. I think he gets the finish later on, though. I think he gets it done in the third round via TKO, which leads us on to the first bout on the main card. Now, this one, I'm looking forward to this one between Hakeem Dawodu versus Zubaira Tukhugov. Again, Zach, take it away, mate. Who have you got for this one?
Yeah, they both have. It kind of seems like that in their UFC, they both have a bunch of decisions, split decisions, pretty similar road. So I'm gonna like Jason said earlier. Oh, he bounced for a sec, but like he said earlier, we have a rule on our podcast, and we don't bet against Russians because they're like. It's almost like they're impossible to finish right now. So I'm going to take Zubaira via split decision in a super close fight.
All right, specific like that. All right, I like it.
That is very specific. I have the same result. I've got Zubaira via decision. This is going to be an excellent fight. I really think Hakeem is going to be looking for a knockout. I think he's going to be looking to get that KO, to get that stoppage victory. I don't see him winning by points in a decision, and I do think that this one is going to go to decision. The Russian's got a huge gas tank. A bunch of his fights have gone to decision. He's been in there to the end the whole time. And when you see big records like that, where it's going to decision mixed in with like later round stoppage victories, you know, that's valuable cage experience for my money. I think this is going to be a great fight. This one, I definitely do think it's going to go to decision, and I'm taking the Russian to win it. But I'm excited to watch it. I'm also excited, just as a side note, to appreciate my favorite sports announcer for a second, to hear Bruce Buffer announce Hakeem Dawodu this weekend. I'm excited to hear that one come out of the
Man, I cannot wait for this fight. This is another one of those low-key bangers, in my opinion, from the other one earlier. Like, this is probably, those two are top up there. Like, I'm really excited about this one. I mean, I had never really seen Zubaira. Is that how you say it? Zubaira? Maybe I have. I don't know, but I didn't remember him. And I was really impressed with this dude. I liked what I saw from the tape. His only loss in his last 12 fights comes by Renato Moicano, and that was a split decision. He took Lerone Murphy to a draw. Lerone, really good prospect. This dude's fast and explosive, nice front kicks to the body. He's worked out with Khabib in the past. He throws a nice overhand right, good straight right. He covers distance with combination striking. He's got a good left hook, nice striking defense, but he is susceptible to calf kicks due to his stance that he stands in. And Hakeem Dawodu is really good at calf kicks. So I think that could definitely come into play here. He stands like, that karate sideways stance. So you just got to be careful for that. I think if Zubaira can, adapt to that, I think he has a real good chance of winning. Not saying that Hakeem is a scrub by any stretch of the imagination. He's got good size. He's a good striker in his own right. Hard right leg kicks. Like I said, that'll come in handy in this fight. I've seen him hurt before, and I've seen Zubaira's power. I've seen how well-rounded he is. And I just think Zubaira, if anything, if let's say, hypothetically speaking, Hakeem is getting the better of the stand-up, which I don't think he will, but hypothetically, Zubaira has he has the wrestling ticket. He could always take it wrestling. He could always go that route, which would be the path of least resistance, in my opinion. I think Hakeem has good takedown defense himself, but once he mixes it up with the striking, I mean, everybody knows, it's really hard to stop a good wrestler, especially once they implement that striking as well first. So I'm going to go Zubaira. I was going to say TKO, but you guys have kind of swayed me a little bit. I feel like maybe he's got a decision. He's got 11 decision wins himself. Man, I don't know. I'm definitely going Zubaira. I don't know if it's via TKO or a decision, so I'm going Zubaira, though.
That was good. That was an awesome breakdown. That was a good one. I think, I think this fight's going to be a banger too. I'm with you on that one. I think it's going to be a great fight. Obviously, I'm not betting against the Russian, so I'm all over Zubaira. I think he wins. And don't get me wrong. I think Hakeem, just like anybody else on this card, has maybe Diego Sanchez doesn't have a chance, but everybody else on the card, there's a chance. There's a chance. Hakeem's a stud, man. I mean, he's got off how many wins has he rattled off in the UFC now? He's probably he's won his last one.
Four win streak.
4-1. He beat one of our local guys a couple years ago, Steven Seiler out of Salt Lake City. I mean, the guy's not a scrub. I think it'll be a great fight, but I'm going Zubaira by decision.
I think not betting against Russians is a very good policy. So as with all the Dagestani fighters, Zubaira has very, very dangerous wrestling. He's only lost to Renato Moicano, which is a real testament to the kind of competition that he can hold up against. I think this could be just a roadblock in Hakeem's way. Who I think he'll really struggle with Zubaira's wrestling ability. I think it could be quite a rough night for him. So I'll go with a decision for Zubaira.
Yeah, certainly. What a fight to open the main card, by the way. I mean, two men that can literally hang around for the whole 15, 4, 25, whatever. Both got great cardio, can go the distance. And obviously, as Bernie touched upon earlier, he's 4-1 under the UFC banner. I think all of his 4 wins, off the top of my head, have come by decision. And Zubaira has gone to the distance 13 times in his career, winning 11 out of them. So you know where this is heading, lads. There's no ifs and buts about it. There's no TKOs. There's no submission. This is going to go the full distance, and this one will go to the judges' scorecards. I'm looking forward to how Zubaira approaches this fight. Again, I think he'll edge this one by a decision, Zubaira. So yeah, that's my prediction. Zubaira by a decision, which leads us on to Ketlen Vieira versus Sijara Eubanks. Take it away, Zach.
I'm all in on Sarj Eubanks, and I really like her. I liked her on The Ultimate Fighter. I think she has a physicality for the women's division that's pretty unique. She's game, and she has no problem getting punched in the face and getting in there and making it dirty and physical. And we saw in her last fight, she was a huge underdog. And that girl who'd been just mopping lesser competition, but been mopping everybody, she couldn't do it to Sarj. And not many finishes. Pretty much all of her fights go to decision, as we see in a lot of those. Not a ton of highlight finishes. I just think the records are deceiving on this. Sarj got two quick losses earlier in her career, stumbled a little bit with back-to-back losses in the UFC, but this quick turnaround I think is really good for her. Like I said, I think she has a level of physicality that Vieira may not be ready for, and she's a well-experienced fighter on her own right, but she is coming off of a loss, and it's been almost a year since she's been in the cage. So I like Sarj being the more active fighter and being the aggressor in this fight to win by decision.
So there's a couple points that really kind of swayed me back and forth on this fight when I was picking it. So I'll start with my decision. I think I'm going Eubanks via decision, and this is the only fight on this card where I really allowed my emotion towards the fighter to sway my pick. I don't really do that, but sometimes on fights where you're really just like, there's a lot of weird stuff going on here, I like watching Sarj Eubanks fight, and I think that me yelling at my TV for her to win is going to help her win, so she's gonna. Weird things. We've really got a jiu-jitsu, judo, big, strong expert in the Brazilian there. She can strike because she's big and she's strong, but she's really an expert in those more traditional Brazilian martial arts. Her last fight, she got knocked into the absolute abyss. She got, I mean, that's not good for you type stuff. She got absolutely crushed right in round one by Irene Aldana. So that was her last fight. So that's what she's coming off of, is getting her just smashed into the mat. So that's not a great thing for me to pick ever, is if a fighter's coming off of a bad loss. With Eubanks, you've got the good, more traditional American boxing and wrestling coming in. She's a grinder, like Zach said, all decision wins and losses recently. It's entirely going the distance. I think she's just she doesn't knock girls out, she beats them up. And I think she's gonna get in there and she's gonna beat her opponent up this time too. And I'm rooting for her, definitely. Vieira is a dangerous opponent though. I mean, she's a big, strong girl, and she's only got that one loss, but that one loss was bad.
All right. So let me preface this with saying that I am not a very good judgment of women's MMA. I haven't been doing very well at women's MMA, I'm gonna be honest with y'all.
It's different.
I'm gonna give you guys my prediction anyway, though. So let's get into it. Ketlen Vieira versus Sijara Eubanks. I'm with you guys. I like Sijara. Like on a personal note, like I've been watching a couple of her interviews recently, and she seems like a cool ass girl. So in that regard, I do like her. But in this fight, I do think Ketlen Vieira definitely has the striking advantage. She's a better striker on her feet. She'll cut off the cage. She's more technical. She's got a nice right hand, quick jab, like I said, technical footwork. But she has taken down 4 out of her 6 opponents, besides her last one and then another fight. But she was doing all right against Irene Aldana. I felt like she was doing all right before she got clocked. But yeah, Sijara Eubanks, 2 TKO wins, 4 decision wins, 4 decision losses. She only loses by decision. She is a BJJ black belt under Ricardo Almeida, but surprisingly has no submission wins, I think that's kind of weird. But like you guys said, you can't really measure toughness or strength. And Zach was mentioning earlier that Sijara has a toughness for this weight class and this division that most women aren't used to. And I would agree with that. But I do think if Ketlen Vieira can keep this standing, I just think she's too technically sound, and she'll probably win a decision victory against Eubanks. So I'm going with.
Man, I love hearing all your guys' breakdowns before I get to go, because you guys help me make my decision.
We're switching next time, Jason.
Yeah. I mean, time we'll all be in different places.
Eubanks is a dog, man. Like Zach said, she's a dog. She was a huge underdog in her last fight. Comes out and just grinds it. It's hard to go against a fighter it's hard. And like Berner was saying, Vieira's coming off a brutal knockout loss. I mean, as far as the mental game, maybe she's there. But on the flip side of it, I don't know if Eubanks is going to be able to manhandle her like she just did her last opponent, because Vieira's a pretty big. I think Vieira's going to be bigger. It's hard to go against the dog, though. It's hard to go against a fighter that's just got that bite, and Eubanks has it. So I'm gonna go Eubanks by decision.
There are very few fighters I feel quite as sorry for as Vieira. I think she really lost the opportunity to secure the title shot with the extended timeout because of the I think it was a knee injury. She was really in the title picture after the win over Zingano. It looked like she could have potentially got that shot. So the timeout was just really unlucky. I think the left hook from Aldana, I think it would have stunted her confidence. Bearing in mind she was undefeated prior to this as well. Often it can be that extra hit can just be a little bit too much to overcome. And I mean, on Sarj's part, I think mentally and physically she's so tough. I don't really see this going any other way than for Sarj. I mean, she had some struggles to acclimatise to bantamweight. She lost her first two, but she's now on a 2-fight win streak. Her physicality really matches the division. She looks very comfortable in her last couple of fights. So I think this could be this could definitely be a win for Sarj. So I think I'll go for a decision on that one.
Yeah, it's crazy because recently, over the past year or so, I've been one of them Eubank haters. I didn't get when the prospect with her. And from some of the interviews seen with her recently, she seems well determined to sort of get up the rankings and sort of try and get that title shot. And obviously she's 6'4". It's going to be a while before we see her fighting in amongst the top contenders. But to fight this quickly and this big of a turnaround, you've got to respect her mentality and her drive and a mindset to reach the top and to reach the pinnacle of the sport. So I've got nothing but respect for her in that part, considering I was a hater not that long ago. But yeah, I mean, again, sometimes with those fighters, it takes a defeat to sort of, get back to the drawing board and, pick out where you went wrong. And again, sometimes it takes that defeat for you to realise, maybe I was approaching it wrong in this way. And I don't know. I think we will see Vieira get this one done by a decision. I don't know. I mean, I've admired Eubanks recently in terms of what she's saying. She's got all the credentials to sort of work up the rankings, and we may see her fight the top prospects in the near future. But as of late, I'm going to back the Vieira, who's 10-1, to get the decision victory this Saturday night, and leads us on to our next fight between Kai Kara-France and Brandon Royval. Take it away, Zach.
This is a really, really fun flyweight fight. And I'll be honest, I'm not the hugest fan of the flyweight division. There's just not a lot there for me. But I think that this is one. Brandon Royval, he was on the LFA circuit for so long and did really well there. Finally cracked into the UFC and beat somebody in Tim Elliott in his UFC debut that I think really highly of, and I really like Tim Elliott. And so, and he's a huge 125er at 5'9". And I really like all that. But all that being said, Kai Kara-France has one loss in almost 4 years. And it was to Brandon Moreno, who I think is eventually going to be the next challenger for the 125 belt. I have a hard time picking against Kai Kara-France. His experience at his age is pretty incredible. I'm sure my guy, that way, Berner is going to bring up where he trains. And I see Kai Kara-France getting the job done in a really high-paced 3-round decision in that fight.
So to kind of revisit one of Massio's earlier comments about not being great at picking women's fights, full disclosure, I'm not very good at picking men's flyweight and even sometimes bantamweight and featherweight fights. I box on the side, and I'm like 6'4", 250, and the smaller guys don't make sense to me. The fighting doesn't make as much sense. Like when I'm envisioning the fight, I can't. It shows in my stats. I don't pick the small guys as well. But James, what gym does Cara France train at again?
I think you know, Berner.
City Kickboxing. I'm gonna take it.
Go on, you need deep down.
I'm gonna go ahead and take Cara France as well. I've actually got him going via decision. I think it's gonna. I really like Royval. He's an excellent wrestler. He's got great takedowns. He's got great takedown defense. His transitions are incredibly impressive. It looks like somebody playing the UFC video game that really knows what they're sliding the sticks over. I mean, he transitions from move to move, on the bottom, on the top. He's really impressive on the ground. I think Kai Cara France is an experienced enough fighter that he's not going to get caught by anything crazy like an armbar from the bottom or something like that. I don't think he's going to be susceptible at this point in his. He's expecting something like that. I don't think he's going to get caught by surprise in something like that. But I do really think that he's going to get the work done on the feet with that great kickboxing. I think Cara France wins it pretty handily via decision. I think it will be a lopsided decision for Cara France.
For sure. Kai Cara France versus Brandon Royval. I like both these dudes. Royval is the superior grappler, the wrestler. You know, this is a styles make fights type matchup. You got the striker, Kai Cara France versus Brandon Royval, the grappler. Like Berner was saying, he's got amazing transitions, especially on the ground. Like he'll transition from submission to submission as soon as he doesn't get it. You know, he's got things set up. So I really just think it comes down to, can Royval get Kai on the ground? You know, because on the feet, I definitely see Cara France having a definite advantage. But with that said, I just think, you know, he's 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Kai, his only loss was to Brandon Moreno, another wrestler. So, you know, that's Royval's path to victory, in my opinion. But can he get him to the ground? That's the real question. And I don't know if he can, and I don't think he can. So I'm leaning Kai Cara France here via decision, same as you guys. But I like Brandon Royval. I think he's a good fighter in his own right. So going forward in the future, you know.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Yeah, this is a tough one for me. I think it's gonna be a great fight. Kai Cara France, I mean, he's a stud. Brandon Royval, out of his 11, what is he? 11-4. Out of his 11 victories, 7 of those have been by submission. Mm-hmm. Granted, they're coming. A lot of these are coming in the LFA, but I mean, still, the guy's got the ground game. If he ends up getting him to the ground, I mean, he's long. It'll be a lot easier for him to slap on a submission with that height. I mean, he's 5 inches taller than Kai Cara France. With that being said, I think the experience Kai Cara France is going to bring into this is going to be a little bit too much for him. I wouldn't be surprised though if we saw a submission from Royval though either. So I know I'm not really giving anybody a definitive answer on this one, but I really could see it going either way.
So the money would be on the dog then, you think?
You know what? I think laying a little bit on there. Yeah, I could see that being a good bet. I mean, what is he? It's almost a 2-1 underdog.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was a strong underdog.
Mm-hmm. Everybody knows
that's good money. I don't think he's going to win, but that's good money on my part.
The value is on him. The value is on Brandon.
I think the value is on Brandon, but that's
I'm definitely on that hype train for Royval. One of my favorite flyweight matchups I can think of this year. He made his UFC debut 4 months ago. He tapped out Tim Elliott, one of the veterans, one of the gatekeepers of that upper end of the flyweight division. So if Royval beats Cara France, it will prove the win over Elliott wasn't just a fluke. And I genuinely think this could start him off on a run for the title. Cara France is, as mentioned earlier, Kai's disadvantages with wrestlers and guys with good grappling like Brandon Moreno. And I've got a lot of faith in this guy. So I'll go for a Royval submission in the second.
Yeah, sorry about that one, chaps. I generally just got disconnected out of nowhere. But yeah, it's good to see that the sun's still rolling. But are we still on the Kai Cara France versus Brandon Royval fight?
Yeah.
Yep, we just got to you.
Yep.
Just in time. I'm all for. I'm on the Kai France hype train. I mean, I love the guy again, Berner. You know yourself what Jimmy trains out of, so I'm all for it. I think this guy is legit. He's coming off of some impressive wins. He's won 5 out of his last 6 recently over Nam. So he averages a lot of strikes per minute. He can, pop with both hands, but he mixes in his legs well and most accurately. A lot of his wins, he can, go to the ground and get a couple of submission wins. But against a guy like, I'm guessing you guys are talking about, Royval, who has the edge on the ground and can do it on the mat. So for Kai Kara, it's probably best to keep the fight standing and implementing those like wide range, versatile striking ability. And again, if he can keep the fight standing, implementing those kicks and his great cardio, then I can see him getting it done via the decision. So I'm going to go for a Kai Kara via decision, which leads us on to our first title fight of the night between Dominick Reyes and Jan Blachowicz. An explosive matchup on paper. Zach, who have you got?
I'm really excited. It's fun. It's fun to see finally move on from the John Jones era at that division. Obviously he reigned supreme for so long, but I will say that I think the cream of the crop of that division is the 2 guys that took John his last 2 fights with Thiago Santos and Dominick Reyes. I think those are the 2 guys that need to eventually fight to see who the king of that division is. And with Jan Blachowicz's last loss being to Thiago Santos, I think he will lose to Dominick Reyes and kind of become the gatekeeper of that division. And I would have Dominick Reyes via knockout in the second round.
So we got ourselves a title fight here. I am probably going to be possibly alone on this, but I am taking Blachowicz to win this fight outright. I think he's going to get it done by submission in one of the championship rounds. I'm saying round 4 submission is what I'm going to say.
Oh shit!
Yeah, I know.
I forgot that it was 4 or 5 rounds. Championship fight.
Yeah. We got it. It's a 5-round fight, and I think no matter who wins, it's getting done by decision or in round 4 or 5. There's no way that either of these guys, I think, is gonna lose a fight of this caliber at this point in their career in like the first round. That's just not going to happen. This is going to be an excellent matchup. They're both big. They're both strong. I think size advantage goes to Reyes, but then just raw strength advantage is going to go the other way. I really like Jan's whenever he's on the ground. I really like what he's doing. He's so fast to try to take advantage of a submission opportunity. And if I cannot upsell enough how highly I think of Dominick Reyes, but I think that Jan has a more varied skill set, and that in this long fight, this championship fight, that's going to come more and more into play as we get into the later rounds, which is why I'm taking the round 4 submission. I think he's going to take a lot of damage trying to get there. I think they're both going to take a lot of damage trying to get there. They're both extremely powerful strikers. I think that the technical striking advantage definitely goes to Reyes. I think he's going to get in there more. His striking percentage is going to be higher on what he's landing and what he's hitting as far as significant strikes and power shots. But I think once they really get down into the gas tank, I mean, they're big dudes. There's a limit to how good of a shape you can be in if you're 205 pounds. I mean, not how good of shape you can be in, but I mean, how long you can run for. There's a reason marathoners look the way they do. So I think once they get down onto it, they're sweating, they're bleeding, they're hurt, they're on the mat, they're going into it because they're both championship caliber. I think Jan's going to manage to sneak a submission in somewhere, and that we're all going to be standing up above our couches screaming because the fight just ended.
I love it, bro. I love that take. I disagree with it, but I like it. I'll sprinkle some Jan sub props in there. Who knows? But Jan is a good fighter. 7 TKO wins, 9 sub wins, 10 decision wins. So he's, he can win in a variety of ways. Definitely has the more maybe well-rounded game, you might say, than Dominick Reyes. But Dominick Reyes, like you said, maybe the more crisp striker, maybe the more polished striking. He definitely likes to angle off. And use those angles to his advantage. He's got great footwork. I think that that can't be undersold, to be honest. And he went the distance with the GOAT. I mean, I know people don't like to use MMA math, but I mean that's got to count for something, right? Like a lot of people thought he might have won that fight. His cardio is up to par. as you've seen, he go the full 5 rounds. He did slow down in the 4th and 5th rounds, but I mean, I just him showing that against John Jones, I think that's a positive thing. 7 TKO wins himself for Reyes, 2 submission wins, 3 decision wins, and then obviously that decision loss. Man, I'm definitely gonna have to say Reyes via TKO. I just think he's at some point he's gonna clip him. He's gonna angle off and hit him with a vicious left, and I think that's how he's gonna get it done in the round. I'm gonna go 3rd round. I'm gonna go 3rd round TKO victory for the Dominator Dominick Reyes. On to you, Damage.
You know what? This is another one of those fights where initially I looked at and I was all over Dominick Reyes. I thought, I think he's just gonna. But the more I look at this, Jan's no joke. He's beat everybody. He's beat Corey Sanchez. Corey Anderson, Renato Suaza, Luke Rockhold. Jared Cannonier. The guy's in there for a reason, and I think the line's I honestly think the line's a little skewed. I think it should be a little bit closer. You got Reyes is almost a 3-1 favorite.
Yeah,
I don't know if I agree with that and this big of a fight on a co-main event.
Yeah,
I'm kind of leaning more towards Burner's, his breakdown and his prediction. If I'm laying money on it, I think Blachowicz. I think Jan's my guy on this one. I'm going to go with Jan with. I'm going to say he wins a decision. I think it's going to go. I think it's going to go to decision.
Well,
I would not be
Both
surprised.
guys could be hard to stop.
I would not be surprised if, like Burner was saying, submission. I wouldn't be surprised if Blachowicz gets that submission.
Jan be going for those standing submissions. You know what I'm saying?
So I think
you don't even need to get it to the ground in some cases.
That over
took some years off Luke Rockhold's life too with that KO.
That over 2.5's looking mighty nice to me. Yeah. If I had to bet on this fight, I'm taking the over 2.5.
Definitely.
Yeah, the value is definitely on Jan. Either way you look at it.
It's I think he's got a good chance. But once again, initially looking at this, Zach and I talked about it earlier. I'm all over Reyes, but the more I start digging into this, listening to Bernard give his breakdown.
So I've actually been on Jan the whole time too, from the moment that I started breaking this fight down in my head. I've thought the whole time. I haven't switched. I know I would imagine that most people have switched from Reyes to Jan that are taking Jan. I have thought the whole time that it's going to be Jan.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I go down with the shit.
Didn't the line open up at like minus 180 or something for favoriting Reyes, and now it's like minus 300? It's pretty crazy.
It's 300. I saw it at 250.
It's wild.
It's getting wider, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Nathan, it's on you, buddy.
It's one of the first times I can remember a fight for a vacant title having little to no complaints in terms of the matchup itself. It's a long way from like an Aldo and Jan type matchup. These two guys are firmly the most deserving. I was after Jan knocked out Corey Anderson, I was so concerned more for Reyes than anything that perhaps he'd have to wait it out because I had Reyes up 3 for 2 in the fight with Jones, so I thought he was more than deserving of another shot. So I'm relieved in a way that John Jones is moving up to I think better things at heavyweight and allowing this division to move forward. Jan, I think, is unquestionably the more powerful of the two. But I've been very impressed with Reyes's his stand-up is so well measured, and I do think that could counter that power. So bearing in mind that I did pick Reyes, that I did score Reyes over Jones, I'm probably going to have to go for him. His natural talent, I think, will pull him through to a decision win. Although, echoing what Berner said earlier, I think it's a possibility that he could knock him out late instead.
I thought you were going to change your mind then, Nathan. I thought that was the Berner effect coming up clutch.
Nah, not quite. Not quite. It's convincing, but not quite.
It's crazy to think, because at one point a year or two back, people in the light heavyweight division were looking at Blachowicz as sort of a gatekeeper to the top 5, and we've seen this rejuvenated Blachowicz, and I've been very impressed with him recently. I mean, that Polish power is legit. I've got a couple of Polish mates of mine. Let me tell you, they've got some power. So the Polish power is legit, but again, you look at Blachowicz, he's just so well-rounded, and it's crazy. But Dominick Reyes, I mean, regardless of how you scored it, he went toe-to-toe with one of the, probably in my opinion, the consensus goat of MMA, John Jones. One of the best. To go 5 rounds with John Jones, regardless of where he's at in his career now, is impressive. He's more crisp in his striking, Reyes, but again, there's certainly many paths to victories for Blachowicz. You can get it done by knockout. You can get it done on the 3rd round. But I don't know. I've got back Reyes in this one. I think he was very impressive against John Jones, again, regardless of how he scored it. And I see him. It depends where his mindset is going into this one. If going into the fight all cocky and arrogant, you go, I've beaten Jones, I'm the champion going into this one. It shouldn't be for the vacant title. Then maybe we'll see Blachowicz take advantage of that. But if he's well determined, Reyes, to win the belt and implement his game as he did against John Jones, maybe we'll see him taken into the championship rounds where, Dominick Reyes has the experience going 5 rounds with John Jones. Does Blachowicz have the gas tank and the sort of level to last in the championship rounds? I don't think he does. So I'm going to go for a Dominick Reyes via 4th round TKO. Now,
hey, that was 3-3, no?
It's interesting that almost all of us think that the fight is either ending in round 4 or 5 or the 5 on the judges. So it seems like
that is pretty interesting, actually.
Yeah.
Going to the championship rounds.
It's like Damage said, I don't know actually if you said it for this fight, but you said the over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the over 2.5.
It's 2.5. Oh, easy.
It's over because it's a 5-round fight. So yeah, over 2.5.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to the 3rd round. Yeah, I can't see it not going into the 3rd round.
Yeah, is that how they do the overs, or I mean the halves? And
yeah,
is it just the next round?
It's
okay.
not. It's not
sure.
a time thing. It's just that round.
Got you. Okay, thanks for the clarification.
Okay.
And it's at minus 135 for the over. I'll take
Free
it.
money.
Yeah, not bad. I like that. I like that look, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm gonna apply. I never bet on MMA, so I just did a fantasy until this weekend. So,
but we're 3-on-3 on this pick, right? We got 3 people for Jan and 3 people for Dominic. I think this is the first time we're actually like
it's shocking to me as the man on the Jan train.
All right, man. It's gonna be a good fight either way.
Yeah, 100%. So see now the main event, the one we're all looking forward to, Israel Adesanya versus Paulo Costa. Somebody's though has got to go. Zach, take it away. Looking forward to this one, gents.
When this fight was announced, I was all over Adesanya. I thought it would be a highlight KO.
Yeah.
His technical striking is too elite, and you see these big power guys that are explosive, and they're too aggressive. And at some point, Izzy's just going to be able to circle out at one point. And I've said it all along. I think a highlight head kick's coming, and it'll put his lights out. But then I rewatched Costa's fight with like Yoel and the way he took Yoel's power, and it was like, man, but I've come full circle again. I'm back on. I think Izzy's technique and his precision and his experience with his kickboxing and stuff. This isn't the first time he's faced a guy that's been physically imposing compared to him. Power
and who will come forward.
Explosiveness. He's going to come at him. And that's exactly what a counter striker like Izzy wants, is a guy that's going to be able to be aggressive and come at him. I mean, does Costa have the power to catch him? Absolutely he does. But, that timing beats speed and precision beats power every time. And I'll take Izzy by a highlight head kick KO in the 2nd round.
Bernard, surely you're going full house for the City Kickboxing Academy, are you?
I have to. This would be an interesting one to say, well, you know what? I think I'll diverge. I actually am in the exact same boat as Zach. I've been through the full circle a couple times on this fight this week. I have sat down and tried to convince myself that Costa's going to win, and then I've sat down and purposefully convinced myself right back. Last night, I was sitting in my living room with my boys hanging out, and we were watching professional kickboxing. Couldn't tell you the last time I did that, but I was watching some Adesanya professional kickboxing matches. I'm taking Izzy by KO. I genuinely don't know when in the fight it's going to happen. I could see it happening in the 1st round. I could see it happening in the 5th round. I think eventually it's going to happen. I mean, Paulo's big and he's powerful and he trains down there with a bunch of really high-level expert professional jiu-jitsu guys. He hits he hits harder than all those jiu-jitsu guys. He's a physical specimen. I could honestly see someday as he gets older, I could see Paulo Costa moving up into light heavyweight if he wanted to. I mean, he's shredded right now. He's got
where he should be.
He's got an easy 20 pounds to put on. But hey, you know what? If you want to stay that cut up, it's uncomfortable. But if he wants to stay that cut up, I'd fight at middleweight. I feel it. But Israel Adesanya, I mean, I think he's got 4 losses and I think he's at 90 professional kickboxing wins or something ridiculous like that. I mean, he fights in kickboxing tournaments where they do 3 fights in a night. He is the champion of one of the best divisions in the UFC, and it's in a real good state right now. I think he's a complete striker. It's every single appendage, his left and right elbow, hand, knee, and foot is a weapon that can knock you out, and you can find footage of him knocking somebody out with that appendage. He's too quick defensively. His vision's too good for being able to see when strikes are coming. I don't think Costa's going to be able to load up some crazy hook and take him out or anything like that. I don't think he's going to be able to keep him on the ground and submit him find me somebody that thinks Paulo Costa is going to win this via armbar, and I'll sit down and argue with him for a bit, because I don't think Costa has a path to victory. And that's tough because I really like Paulo Costa, and I like his swagger that he's got as an undefeated fighter in the UFC. And I think that if you remove Adesanya from the division, right now, if he just poofs out and was never there, Paulo Costa would make a really excellent undefeated champion in the middleweight division. But we've already got one, and we're going to have the same one after Saturday, and it's Israel Adesanya.
Love it, Burner. So Paulo Costa, the Eraser, versus the Stylebender, man. This is a matchup of styles if you ever seen one. You got the Berserker, the absolute jack. What does he like to call him? A juice monkey or something like that? I don't know. Whatever he likes to call him. But then you got the skinny, tall, lanky, super technical kickboxer Izzy Adesanya. Styles make fights, as we all know, and Costa, huge, massive muscles, but is at an 8-inch reach disadvantage. That is massive, especially with someone who's such a technical striker like Izzy. You know what I mean? 8 inches, that's huge. That is so huge. How is he going to cover that distance? What's he going to do? You know what I mean? When I was watching tape on Costa, I love watching tape on him. He's an absolute beast in his own right. He doesn't have the most technical striking, but he likes to go to the body a lot, but you never really see him one punch knockout like people. You never really see it. And I know Izzy's been knocked out in kickboxing. You've seen it a couple of times. Alex Perez or whatever his name is knocked him out a couple of times. But I mean, I just don't see Costa getting in that range. I don't see Izzy giving him that opportunity. We saw what happened with Izzy versus Yoel. Yoel throws that one overhand right. I actually was at that fight, the last live main event and shit. But anyways, and after that, he was just super timid, super, he doesn't want to be in that kind of danger. He felt that power once and he's like, I'm good. He's going to feel that with Costa, obviously, but I think he's just going to be like Zach said, angling off, circling around. And I don't know if he's going to catch him with a head kick, but I could definitely see him, doing what Dominick Reyes did and just circling around and just think, click, crack him from the side. I got Izzy Adesanya, probably via TKO. Like Burner said, I'm not sure what round. I have no idea. It could happen in the first. It could happen in the 5th. But we know Izzy Adesanya could go the full 5 rounds like that with good cardio in a war against Gastelum. So I'm going Adesanya. I'm going the technical striker. I'm going the dude with the 8-inch reach advantage via TKO.
Nice breakdown once again. I'm going with Izzy. I think his technical striking is going to be too much for Costa. I think really the only way Costa wins this is if he makes this an ugly fight, tries to use his strength, keep him up against the cage. But I don't think he's going to be able to. I think he's going to fight too smart of a fight. I think Paulo Costa will eventually end up gassing, and Izzy's going to end up getting the TKO win 4th round. It's going to be my guess. I've tried to make a case for Paulo Costa multiple times. I keep going back and tried to go back and forth. As much as I want to see him win, I just don't know. I just don't see how he does it. So I'm going to go with Izzy TKO 4th round.
I mean, Izzy's movement is it's unrivaled in the division, and I mean, in my personal opinion, in the sport as a whole, which I think will massively frustrate someone like Costa, who's this big and powerful guy, who, I mean, for the most part, has kind of got his way, really. If he doesn't catch him in the first 2 rounds, I don't see him winning this at all. Izzy has the advantage of not only the reach advantage, but also more 5-round fights, I think. He's proved he can come through in wars of attrition, like Kelvin Gastelum. There's another one I'm missing out. I mean, you could say Romero, Tavares, but I suppose they were more dominant fights. So Gastelum's probably the best, the best example. Costa, meanwhile, hasn't fought in a single 5-round fight yet, and I mean, he seemed kind of gassed out at times in the Romero fight as well. I do think he will gas out due to swinging and missing Izzy too often. He'll tire probably around the late 2nd, early 3rd, and I was going to say a decision win for Izzy, but I think you've all convinced me. I'll probably go for a 5th round KO. And also Costa should move to light heavyweight. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Totally agree. Like I said, how he makes 185 is beyond me. That man is huge for 185. Crazy. But obviously, yeah, I think Adesanya literally just outpoints him and on the feet, using his length and his movement, and his speed is just second to none. There's a decent chance I think Adesanya wins this one in the later rounds. I think personally, Paulo Costa's got 15 minutes to knock him out. Otherwise, it becomes the Israel Adesanya show, because obviously, like you boys have all touched upon earlier, he's had the experience going into the later round, the championship rounds. Adesanya is capable of going into those deep waters and testing Paulo Costa. Whether he's got the cardio, Costa, to sort of last those championship rounds, I'm not too sure. But ultimately, I don't know. I think, as I said earlier, it's just his sheer versatility in his striking approach. I think he will just outpoint Costa in every way. Like I said, on the feet, using his length and his movement. Again, I was thinking, Nathan, mate, honestly, you said you've been swayed to a late finish for Adesanya. I'm not going to be swayed by all of you boys. I'm going to stick to my guns, and I just think Adesanya outpoints him to a decision comfortably. And and still, sorry, Costa, you've got to go, and unfortunately, you're going to be going up to light heavyweight after this. But we've covered the whole card in great depth here. I mean, look at the time now. We've spent just under 120. It's absolutely crazy. But Zach, Jason, cheers for the new guys for coming on. I really appreciate it. Bernard, Matt Thatcher, again, likewise, thank you for coming on again. And soon we'll have Garrett back doing hosting. So unfortunately, you won't have to listen to my British accent for long. But yeah, cheers for coming on.
Not too bad.
I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you guys. Enjoy the fights.
Enjoy the fights.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.